I've done a lot of Resident Evil 4 No Merchant runs and have never thought, hey, can I do this in Resident Evil 5? Until very recently. I think the main reason for that might be because there's not a merchant type character to run into in Resident Evil 5. There's a store page instead. It's way less charming and way harder to draw sexy fan art of, so I kind of always forget about it. But we can access it between chapters and between deaths. Between so many deaths. If you didn't already guess by the name, the store is where we do store stuff, like buying things, which will only matter to us at all for knowing the context of this run, because I want to try and beat Resident Evil 5 without the store, on its hardest difficulty, Professional. Just for a little further clarification on what that all entails for us, the game will be at its hardest and there will be absolutely zero use of the buy, sell, and upgrade functions of the store. This means anything we want to use, we'll have to find out there in the field. Guns, grenades, heals, love, all the normal stuff. Also, Resident Evil 5 is a co-op game, even if you're like me and you don't have any friends to play with. So we'll be playing with the NPC partner, which might be the real challenge of this run, but we'll get to that. That's pretty much the gist of it for now. We'll cover everything else as we go. Surely it'll be as fun as those Resident Evil 4 runs that I love so much. So how do I even put this besides just saying Chapter 1-1 absolutely throttled me? This was easily one of the hardest parts of the game. First things first though, we've gotta grab our gear. Nice. Now we're ready to go. At least physically, because I don't think I was ever mentally prepared for this. Resident Evil 5 pulls the old village bingo battle from the start of Resi 4, except worse. Not because the game's bad or anything, or because I'm bad, which I am. I remember being a lot better at this game when I was a teenager, but it's worse because of our AI, NPC, whatever you want to call it, co-op partner. The thing you have to understand if you play Resident Evil 5 solo is that the co-op partner's AI is tragic. Oh, Sheva, what the fuck? Dealing with Sheva is kind of like that one game where you have to stop a baby from like drinking bleach than shoving a fork into an electrical socket, which is more of a problem on Professional because the majority of attacks just straight up put us in danger, where if we don't get a reassuring slap on the ass from our partner within like 2 seconds, you die. And every time we die at this part, we have to watch this. It's unskippable, my favorite. So we have to survive around 6 or 7 minutes with all of that going on. No problem. Okay. Okay. Please, Okay, there might have been a bit of a problem. The one that hurt the most was this attempt, where I died literally seconds before it was all over. No! 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 Right. There's like 2 parts to this. Part 1, we're stuck in the house waiting for the executioner, this guy, to break down the gate so we can bail out and run around. And generally, I had luck standing next to this window swinging my knife and hoping for the best. The best being Sheva not jumping out that exact window and tempting fate. When I was actually forced to fight, the classic Resident Evil 4 method of melee comboing off a headshot or knee shot was the way to go. Not only does it do good damage, it's really good for crowd control. Also, not that we have that much ammo at this point anyways, but the old reload trick where we use the combined function of our inventory to reload any weapons instantly makes all the reload upgrades that we're missing out on from the store obsolete. Get in there, bitch. Part 2 is trying to run laps around while praying that I wouldn't catch a stray, and that Sheva would ignore the call of the abyss while we wait for the timer to run down. In all this chaos, we can actually find the first gun of the game. It's a submachine gun that I passed off to Sheva. I'm not a fan of it personally. It reminds me too much of Resident Evil 4's TMP. All in all, I spent just over 2 hours in this very first chapter. Surely, this would temper me for the things to come. Surely.
I'm gonna take out the door.
Please. Please, for the love of God. Yes! 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 Oh my God. Look, we were 1 second away the one time. Not even. Sheva just, And that's Resident Evil 5, Professional No Merchant, new game. 1-2 is pretty much a walk in the park comparatively. The second gun we can find in the run is here. It's a shotgun just chilling on the wall, free for the taking. And then we have enemies immediately start going all Plagueisy on us. Flash grenades still one-shot these guys when their heads burst, if you have any. I found myself lacking grenades for the majority of the game, which was probably just bad luck. Now it's already time for the first boss fight of the game, which maybe takes 2 minutes. We just throw its ass in the easy bake oven. Sheva, you don't need to stand like right in the way of the camera. At the start of 2-1, we can grab the MP5, another submachine gun. And you're probably noticing that we found 3 guns already. In comparison to either version of Resident Evil 4, 5 just kinda throws guns at you. I guess that's sort of the nature of a co-op action game. Beyond that, now we've got some dogs to deal with. They're not so bad when they can't get close to us, but if they ever start to learn to climb ladders, we'll probably be in trouble. Imagine if we found 2 guns in the same chapter, because we do, and it's a sniper rifle this time. Snipers were pretty well my crutch for the entire run, especially whenever I needed to kill something fast. Even without any sort of damage upgrades, they pop heads real good. But yeah, we're not going to be running out of weapons anytime soon. Good thing Resident Evil 5 gives us infinite storage for all these guns. And no, I don't count the Organize tab as part of the store. It's a separate menu from the buy-sell stuff. Man, wouldn't it suck if there was a part where you had to be separated from your partner and you had to count on them to not immediately run into a group of enemies? That'd be crazy. Are you kidding me? I didn't even have a chance. She got hit in the fucking cutscene. There's a pretty neat skip here if you have a grenade, but like I said, I found myself lacking grenades, or I'd have tried it. Beyond Sheva's eagerness for wanting to die, this chapter is pretty smooth overall. I mean, we still did die a bunch, but anything less than 2 hours worth of deaths from 1-1 is what I'm considering smooth for the rest of the run. I spent a good portion of 2-2 running with varying levels of success. Oh my fucking god. Dude, I don't like the way that dog's looking at my ass. There's this one part, though, that I am very much not a fan of, where you're in a pitch black mine shaft, and the only way to see is using this lamp here. If we use it, we can't attack. And if Sheva uses it, well, she's Sheva. It's not her fault she's programmed the way she is. We can absolutely just run right through here too, but eventually there's a gate and a crank, and one person has to use it while the other person covers them, and then everyone we ran past catches up with us, and it's a bad time. Also, they separate us from Sheva again with that gate, so either way we're having to kill a bunch of guys or she's toast. But once we're through there, we can just run our asses to the elevator and bail on out. And what do you know? Another sniper rifle for our collection. It's a good thing this is here too, because they start putting guys on Gatling guns, which really set off my Resident Evil 4 PTSD. Fuck me. Now the next boss is up to bat. I'm sorry. In theory, this one is pretty easy, but you can probably guess what's about to happen. In a perfect world, one person kites the bat while the other person tickles its soft, supple belly. In our current reality, we just hope to fit in some shots wherever we can and knock it on its ass. Then we lay into it with preferably the sniper rifle, or whatever I had ammo for at the time. And it was around now that I discovered how wonderful the map is. This shit tracks that awful goddamn creature, and the bat for us. I jest. It's still not Sheva's fault. I'm sure if I was playing as her, co-op Chris wouldn't be any better. Regardless, I hope we never have to see that thing again, and I mean the bat this time. 2-3 is entirely a turret section, which is about as enjoyable as it sounds. Luckily though, this is the one part where Sheva isn't an active detriment. She's particularly good at shooting the Plagueis in the Endesu boss fight. Sorry about the pronunciations. The only other thing to say about this fight is that it goes on for way too long. 3-1 starts us off on a hovercraft where we have to rip around and gather pieces of a key to open a door. There's also a free RPG you can find during the ride, which I completely forgot about, and that'll come back to haunt me later. Otherwise, I'd say a solid 90% of this went off without a hitch. Mostly, everything is easy enough to run through. That other 10% wasn't bad either. It was mostly just this bit at the end in the village. Rushing the bridge wasn't really a good idea. Are you fucking joking me? Grabbing the Magnum, though, that's a good idea. Okay, so there's really only one place to talk about in 3-2, and that's this little timed holdout bit inside the oil refinery. Essentially, we're protecting this dude Josh while he unlocks an elevator so we can kind of escape. The thing is, if he gets hit, it's GG. Wait, what? Wait! He got hit by a single axe and died? So now we're babysitting 2 NPCs, and it's not over once we go up the elevator either. Josh! What the fuck, Josh? You know, I can't really help but relate certain parts of RE5 back to RE4, like how that last bit reminded me of the cabin holdout with Luis, and how the start of 3-3 brings me back to when Ashley is driving that construction vehicle right before one of the 50 times she's abducted. Tell me you don't see the similarities. We're on a vehicle, there's a bunch of guys that die in one hit, there's explosions, eventually we have to get off the vehicle to pull some switches to open a door, and when we get off, more guys spawn to style on us, and then if we die, we get pushed back to the start to do it all over again. I sincerely wish that if you got like headshotted by a Gatling gun, your head would just blow open like a watermelon. Although, to be fair, 4 didn't follow their bit up with the turret section boss fight against a hentai kraken. This fight is annoying at worst, but ultimately not that hard, if you don't count not pressing the QTEs in time and insta-dying. Are you— what? What? I pressed A! This is another point where Sheva isn't quite a burden because she continues to be deadly accurate with the turrets. And in my experience, she'd never missed a QTE. Get his ass. It's just a lot of shooting weak points before we become someone's fetish. Sheva! Why aren't you helping? Why is she looking at the tentacles? I'm 3 feet to your left. You could have saved me 8 fucking times. Anyways, we shoot it until it dies. Oh, thank God. That shit is so annoying. 4-1 is the start of the obligatory Ancient Ruins section of the game. And I'm certain I mentioned this in one of my previous Resi videos, but I'm not super big on the mines, ruins, catacomb bits that show up in almost every Resident Evil game. To be fair though, this one is much better solely by having these flaming balls of death in the middle of this arena. And the bat's back, but it's much easier to deal with this time. 4-2 is thankfully already pretty much the end of the rune stuff, but unthankfully, it also has a fucking sunbeam laser. Are you fucking kidding me, Sheva? What the fuck, Sheva? Are you— I got the emblem in. We're fine. Oh, checkpoint, please. Please have worked. Please have worked. Oh my God, it worked. I knew I'd do it. 5-1 drops us into a laboratory and introduces liquors, where stealth is almost always my first choice against these guys whenever they show up in Resident Evil. That didn't go so well for me here.
I don't think they'll notice us.
Guess their senses are weak.
Wait, did Sheva run? The next best option was my usual plan, and that was just running for the exit elevator. I remember getting swarmed by lickers having to wait for the elevator here in the past, but they didn't really do that this time. Maybe they got stuck on each other. Oh well, crab battle time. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks, Sheva. That was fine. I was right behind you, but no, we're cool. Let's chill. The crab boss is a pretty good time. Most of my deaths here came from trying to farm these flying bastards for supplies, and then catching a stray. Beyond doing that, we can dodge most of the crab's attacks by running in circles. Then it's just like trying to fight my dad off. Shoot it in the meat, and then throw grenades in its mouth. Please, please be the one. Oh, thank God. 5-2 is when the game jumps the shark like the last couple of chapters of Resident Evil 4 and turns into kind of a shitty shooter. It's not great. To top it off, we have to face probably the worst boss in the game. Do you remember back in 3-1 where I said I forgot to grab the RPG in the swamp and I'd regret it? This is that regret. Okay, so you're supposed to burn this dude with the flamethrower to expose his weak spots, then blast him until he dies. Except it really felt like I was doing nothing for about an hour of attempts. Good fucking lord. What was she doing? She was watching. She was right there and she just decided to fucking watch, man. Was that what? Okay. Now I have no idea if this is actually true or not, but apparently the flamethrower doesn't work properly if you're running the game at 60 FPS. So I dialed it down to 30, and now I'm not sure if it was placebo or what, but it started to feel like I was making progress. Another thing is that the flamethrower has to be equipped like the lantern back in 2-2, on top of needing to be put onto a rack to reload it. So it's a bit cumbersome to say the least. Especially since if we want Sheva to use it, which we do, we have to order her to grab it and then hope she doesn't get got while putting it on. This guy apparently has around 10,000 HP a weak spot, and we have to pop all 3 of his balls. But if you remember, because it hasn't really affected us until now, this is no store, and we don't do near enough damage to make this quick. For reference, the starting pistol does 150 damage a shot. And yeah, this is like the first actual bit of the game that not using the store has had a tangible effect on my mental well-being. I spent about 2.5 hours here. Oh my fucking god! I hated it. So I pulled out the Magnum. 1500 damage a shot.
Eat my entire ass! Eat it! Eat my entire ass!
Miserable. That was miserable. For the most part, 5-3 isn't that bad. There's one more section here where it forces us to split up from Sheva, and that was the only problem area for me. Mostly because it involves running from liquors in an enclosed area where we have to push a big old metal bin out of the way. Oh, that was like 50! Completely ignoring the liquors and just running for it really seems to be the way to go. And now, another boss fight. Wesker and Jill are one of the most fun fights in the game. I mean, any fight with Wesker is pretty good. Whoa! But unfortunately, considering the nature of this run, we don't want to throw hands, since these two will just straight up shoot us in the face. We're gonna hide until Wesker leaves. Please don't walk this way, 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 please. Okay, perfect. Now it's just Jill, who almost immediately pulled a Sheva. Even Wesker has to deal with shitty partners. Sheva? Oh, I love you, Jill. That's why we're partners. This part of the fight is pretty fun too. All we have to do here is shoot her in the bug and then rip it off her chest. Unless you can't aim, then you might end up killing Jill by complete accident. I'm not a very good shot. At least she won't be a problem anymore. Okay, it took a couple tries. 6-1 is fairly short and just more of the same. You fucking butthole. The only exciting bit is when we get locked into a room with a Gatling gun guy. There's a lot of cover, and this mostly boiled down to me hoping I wouldn't get shot. But I did, a few times. Please! Oh. So I ended up pulling out this grenade launcher I found at some point. I don't remember. I stopped keeping track of where and when I found guns. There's a lot. Oh, thank God. 6-2 is pretty much only a boss fight. Like, there's maybe 5 minutes of shooting guys, and then boom, tentacles. It's another situation where there's a gun that shits all over the boss, but it has to charge up between shots. Although, to be fair, this one works at 60 FPS, so that's nice. This thing spews little masses of tentacles that if we kill, we get loot. So it's kind of like those flying things during the crab battle. Though here, Sheva decided to come out of her lurk and be a problem again, essentially turning into a loot goblin with a death wish, which is relatable. Sheva! Okay. It pretty much boiled down to me hiding in a corner with the laser and really hoping neither of us caught a stray tickler. And this thing takes a lot of lasers to kill. Oh, thank God. Thank God. This is it, the final part of the game, 6-3. And the start of this chapter beat my ass worse than 1-1 and pretty much every other part of the game. They throw practically everything at you here, and yeah, it absolutely destroyed me. Oh! Fuck! My grenade bounced off of Sheva. I am so sad. I am so sad. I'm so sad. The general struggle here, besides Sheva being at her absolute worst, were the dual Gatling gun brothers for pretty obvious reasons. These bugs aren't that great either. They were introduced earlier, and I haven't talked about them until now because I usually just ran past them. Unlike here, they might actually be more annoying than Resident Evil 4's Novistadors, because Novistadors at least don't have an insta-kill. Great. After about 2.5 hours of throwing my body at these guys and using just about every combination of curses I knew, I eventually got set up on a Gatling gun of my own, and Sheva actually covered the ladder up here, which let me stunlock these dickheads. Holy shit. By the way, this entire run is going to be up on the VOD channel if you want to see every minute of the struggle. The final boss fight against Wesker right after this was really easy. Almost a bit of a victory lap, to be honest. I think I can sum up the first part pretty quickly here. Yeah. That's about right. Part 2 is pretty easy as well. We're essentially locked into the small arena with him, but it's big enough that all we have to do is just walk away from him to not die. And that was my whole strat. Walk away. Well, and shoot him until he dies, but that was probably a given. I know there's a cool QuickTime event kill where Sheva stabs the shit out of Wesker, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I forgot how to do it. But if anyone asks, it's just because it felt better to shoot him. Oh, thank God. There we go. And that's beating Resident Evil 5's professional difficulty without the store. Listen, I don't think I've ever dealt with a worse AI partner in my life. And if you guys think Ashley is worse, you're not being honest with yourself. But not using the store was mostly fine. With the sheer amount of weaponry available, I think no store really only made mini-bosses and bosses feel harder. Everything else was kind of like how I remembered it, except maybe the dying really quickly. But it's definitely worth doing for a mostly fun challenge. Just don't forget the RPG in the swamp and maybe get a friend to play with you. If you enjoyed the video and want to help me out, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You don't even have to say something nice. And you can catch me doing these runs live over at twitch.tv/anxiety. Thanks for watching. Oh, thank God, there we go. Wait, I never beat this on professional? Oh yeah, I never beat it on professional on PC. I mean, I knew I was going for that achievement all along. Now I have something else to put in the thumbnail. Wait, 63 deaths? There had to have, no. There were 63 deaths today alone. Oh, yeah, that's for the chapter, okay.